on it. 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the...
All right, guys, welcome back in today's edition of In the Game on Crypto Banter. I am your host, Hustle, and I'm sitting down with a very special guest. Jordan Belfort is joining us today on the show.
What's up?
Jordan, we're in your beautiful home. Thank you for having me here to record. How's your day going?
Great. I'm writing a book on investing, actually, in crypto and stocks.
That is amazing. And you've showed me some of the pages, and it was funny. I made a reference, and he was like, watch this, pointed me to the page, made a reference that I made. It was a brilliant connection, and that was the first time we met, actually.
Exactly. The reference you made was a good one. You were talking about the difference between investing and speculating and gambling. And
right.
I mean, the average investor who doesn't know what they're doing goes into the market and tries to short-term trade without having the knowledge. It's the equivalent of going into a casino and playing craps. And you said that, and I was like,
said that exact thing.
And I literally said, look at this. And I wrote, like, the last day, I'd written that exact phrase. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was just funny, too, because of what just happened in the market, right? With Luna. You know, it's all speculation. People thought that was one of the safer protocols. So literally the space is baked off of speculation. And we'll talk a lot about crypto, NFTs, NFT gaming. We'll talk about realms of eternity in this edition. Guys, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more exclusive content and interviews with guys like Jordan and more within the space. So let's just dive right into it. I want to know, you know, what kind of bridged the gap for you to get into the crypto industry, and what caught your eye to come into this side of the market and try to not only be an investor, but, you know, you're building with projects, you're advising with projects. So what caught your eye with the crypto space?
So originally, I was very, very bearish on Bitcoin and very bullish on blockchain. And when I said that, I wasn't really sure like where blockchain would go, but I knew that there was use cases I thought would be amazing, right? One of them, in fact, early on was gaming. I always could see that because it's a closed ecosystem, right? I was very bearish on Bitcoin back in 2017 when it was on the way up to 18, 19,000. And I made a very public, controversial call where I said it's going to crash and burn. And it was like at 19, almost 20,000. Literally the next day, it just started tanking. Went straight down to, I think, 3,000.
All the way down to 3,000
I look like a
or so.
genius. And on some level I was, but I made a huge mistake also. And that was my thing. It's going to zero. It's a piece of shit. And like, as we just saw with Luna, for example, Terra, right? That went to zero, which is typically what happens when something crashes that has no value. And like, and I've been through this so many times. So to me, I looked at Bitcoin, and I'm like, it's going to zero. Now it crashed, it hit 3,000, which was a few $1 billion market cap, and stopped and stabilized. I'm like, wait a second, that's not normal. Like there's something wrong here. And that was the first time I started saying, maybe I'm actually wrong. Maybe my emotional, like it was so emotionally against it because there were so many scams going on, and there was so much shit around. People's barking, it's going to $1 million, it's replacing the dollar. And to me, it was so painfully obviously what those people were doing. They were trying to get more suckers in because you always did. It was a very sort of obvious
exit liquidity, suckers, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. But then what happened when it stabilized, I started noticing a few things one by one. Number one, it didn't go to zero. It started coming back slowly at first. Then institutions started nibbling. That was a big thing for me because the biggest risk I thought was sovereign risk. I said, there's no way the U.S. government is going to allow this to exist. I could tell you 10 reasons why right now. You probably all know them. The U.S. government hates this sort of stuff, potential money laundering, not controlling the money supply, whatever. In fact, if they can go back, they probably would try to stop it, right? But there came a point where I started noticing it was making enough inroads into institutions, enough people who I respected, Elon Musk being one, a bunch of them. I'm like, this is no way the U.S. government is going to outlaw this because I know how the government works. They, you know, it's at a certain point, if it gets enough entrenchment, they'll regulate it and not take it out of business. Now, to me, every time and I've been around, you know, a long time, 30 plus years in the markets, right? When the government steps in to regulate something like this, it doesn't go down. It goes massively up.
Right.
Because what happens is when regulation comes in, the bigger money, institutional money. And right now people say, oh, institutions, they're not really in. I'm talking about real institutions like the Teachers Pension Fund and the sort of the AFL-CIO, the Teamsters, the real like long-term money is not in crypto right now.
It's not there yet.
It's just not. It's more family office money, very small venture funds. It's really not
Tech
there.
companies, stuff like that, getting Bitcoin reserves,
exactly.
etc.
But it's not really there, even close, right? So my thesis started to change as the sovereign risk I thought was actually reversed. It became from massive sovereign risk to actually the risk was they'd regulate, which would drive it up. Then a good friend of mine, a famous crypto guy named Robert Beadles, we had a conversation, and he was the first guy that said, listen, let me give you a different take on Bitcoin. He started to explain to me a thesis of digital gold, right? Property. Long and a very sober explanation, and he urged me to look at it more closely. He sent me some free Bitcoin, and that's when I started looking at it. It was back at 13,000, right?
Got it.
And that's when I started getting in, right? And once I got in and I really looked under the hood of Bitcoin, I was like, oh my God, I really made a huge error in the sense that my timing was right. I knew it was going to go down. It was frothy. There was too much bullshit in the market.
What a misjudgment of the actual
fundamental value. I didn't look at it. I dismissed it out of hand because I was so against it. Also, people like Buffett are saying, so I'm like, yeah, they've done the work too.
Yeah.
But I think if you really look at the actual fundamentals of Bitcoin, it's very difficult to ignore that they're brilliant and they lead to, over the long term, higher prices. And I can see as the adoption curve continues to go, I see this ending not ending, but going really well. So I'm heavily in Bitcoin, and for that matter, Ethereum as well. Different reasons why. So as I got into this, I started getting heavily into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then I started fucking around with some of the other stuff just as a joke, speculation, right? So today, my views on, I think that answers your question. I'll let you ask the next one because I can go on and on.
Yeah, so you started with Bitcoin and Ethereum, were kind of a little skeptical at first, bridged the gap, kind of saw the value of how Bitcoin could be that next gold type of, if you have that kind of stashed away, keep it long term, what that could potentially do as a store of wealth. Talk about your dive into altcoins, or however you would like to term them yourself.
Sure. So the other part of it that I missed here, left out, was that my wife is Argentinian. And I think one of the mistakes we make living in the U.S. is we look at things from a very U.S.-centric perspective. When you go outside the U.S., there's some of these countries that don't have a stable currency. They don't have a government that they can trust even a little bit, right? I don't trust our government, but at least I trust them enough, right? Suddenly, the things that we take for granted, like a stable money supply, are gone. Right. And then in those cases, crypto, specifically Bitcoin, stable coins, Ethereum, those have incredible use cases that are critical, mission critical. So I think as that also became part of the picture, I started to realize, you know what? This is going to penetrate really, really heavily and is important in other countries outside the U.S.
Correct.
As I started to get more into it naturally, okay, I'm getting called by everybody to promote their projects, get behind their projects, right? And I literally rejected every single project. For years, I didn't do anything. And everyone wants to, I'll give you $1 million if you change your profile to this fucking picture.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And I never did any of that stuff. But as I started, friends would call me that I trust, say, hey, this is a good one. I'd throw 100, like I just started speculating. Like I'll put $100,000 into anything. And that's how stupid it is if a friend tells me to do it.
Right.
As a joke. It's not my serious money. It's my I don't go to the track. I don't play blackjack anymore. That's my gambling, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's gambling, right? And I started getting involved, and I started really seeing some stuff in DeFi that I thought potentially could be really, really good. And I started seeing massive fraud as well. Like just incredible amount of fraud. And when it comes to then the next levels, NFTs, even more fraud. But like literally, I thought that, maybe there's like 2 or 3 of them that actually are going to survive this whole thing. And most of them, I think, are nonsense. But NFTs themselves, I think, are going to evolve and be used for other things.
Correct.
It's digital ownership. I think as we move into the so-called metaverse and people are really out there online in this metaverse buying things and transferring value, I think that's what NFTs are really going to have their day. So, and again, it always starts off like people start using stuff for weird reasons in the beginning. It's,
correct.
Right?
Silk Road with Bitcoin.
Whatever it is, right?
Monkey pictures with NFTs.
Exactly. Porn on the internet.
Yeah.
Which we still love, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Not me personally, my friends. No. So anyway, but the point is that as I think these technologies really penetrate more and evolve, I think you're going to look back at NFTs and say, I can't believe people were using this shit to sell stupid squiggly pictures. It's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I think the utility and the communities are I think they're all nonsense. I think they're so incidental, by the way. way. That is not to say there aren't some good projects.
Correct.
Right? Now, the one exception to this, all right, and I really believe this from the bottom of my heart, is gaming. I think when it comes to games, online gamings that will eventually move into the metaverse, I think it's a completely different story because there you have this closed ecosystem.
Right.
And we watched the first blip of this with Axie Infinity, where they developed a play-to-earn model where suddenly you could take a video game and because of the blockchain, because of the ability to have an in-game currency that actually can be fungible into dollars.
And with NFT technology.
And NFT technology, suddenly, right, it was a use case like, whoa, I'm like, this is fucking real.
Yeah.
Because people, I own 2 esports companies and that are not part of the blockchain, all right? They're just separate companies, right? One is, they do contests in colleges, one is professional esports, right?
Got it.
So you would be shocked if you saw the level of engagement in esports,
right?
In video, there's nothing like it. So now you take this industry where there's just massive engagement, and where everything is currently tipped so heavily to the favor of the video game manufacturer. There's no ownership. There's no way people to make money in this stuff, right?
Right.
And I watched my own kids spend so much money. I'm like, this is gonna fly. All right. So in that regard, that's when I started really making investments in that space. And I really believe that's where NFTs, I think a lot of the protocols that we see used for other stuff are going to really flourish in the gaming space.
Correct. And you hit the nail on the head because it just makes so much sense. You have to think all the billions of dollars that Fortnite makes off of Fortnite skins, and it's not tradable. You spend your money and that's a sunk cost.
Yeah.
It goes into the developer's pocket or the studio's pocket. And also, let's just shift it over to the studios. They're missing out on resale of their games. So traditionally speaking, if someone walks in to sell their game back to GameStop makes the money, not the developer. And there's actually technology now where if people were to resell their games, the developer could still make a secondary resale. And it's the same technology with OpenSea and royalties. Yeah. So I completely agree with you on the gaming. And I spent 6 years in esports professionally. So I completely see that avenue as being the one use case for NFTs that is a complete no-brainer. Yeah. And I want to bridge that to a game that you are involved in. I'm involved in as well, and that's Realms of Eternity. Right. So Realms of Eternity is like an MMORPG. If you don't know what an MMORPG is, think RuneScape, World of WarCraft, those type of open world economy games where you're building up your stash, your loot, your weapons, all that stuff to try to progress within the economy, level up assets, etc. What caught your eye from Realms of Eternity? Because you were offered so many projects over the years, you said. What really set them apart and made you want to get involved?
A few things. Number one, so I was in Dubai, and I'm at a party. There's some guy threw a big Wolf of Wall Street party, right? A great party. I'm on the way down, like 2 a.m, on the way to the airport to head back to the U.S., and I meet some kid, young guy, right? He sees me, he's, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. I'm a big fan. I was trying to get in touch with you. No one in your office has returned my call. I want you to consult my company, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I fly back, he flies me back there a few days later, pays me a lot of money, fly back there, right? And it turns out they have a company called Decentralized Investment Group. Now, what Decentralized Investment Group is, it's like sort of a holding company for all things decentralized. Gaming, DeFi, NFTs, and so forth, right? And I like the guys. They had done a small proof of concept game, which they built very quickly. And I sent the game to some people, and they're like, wow, actually, it's got mistakes in it because it was built very quickly. Correct. Proof of concept. They were very surprised at the quality of the game and so forth, right? I looked through their portfolio, and there was some things I liked. Most of the stuff I didn't like, which is typical with VC, right? Because they had like their own little incubator, right? Right. And one thing caught my eye, which was this Realms of Eternity, right? And what really caught my eye is, number one, the principle was that, okay, so everyone is playing this silly Axie Infinity game, which is like the world's worst video game. It's not even a video.
It's a click and watch. It's a click and sim is what it is. Okay, click and it simulates on the screen.
It's not something that you would call a video that would create engagement, but the engagement was so high because of the financial incentive they attached to it. This using NFTs and using the blockchain, they created an economy that people can make money, and it took off in the Philippines, especially. And all these kids were making more money doing that than they could do
for living wages in their own country.
Exactly, right? So the upside of that was, wow, this is a new model with incredible explosive financial potential and also could liberate people around the world to make more money. The game itself, I wasn't crazy about. They had bridged this gap between the two, and they already had taken it upon themselves they were funding it out of their own pockets, which to me is a very important thing. They're putting all their own money into this thing, right?
Right.
They have, at the time, they probably had 60 engineers in Vietnam. Now they have over 120, right? And they already started building the game. Now, I showed this to a friend of mine, a very, very close friend of mine, who was the CEO of PokerStars, all right?
Yeah.
Sold it for $13 billion, my best friends, right? And I said, listen, I have this thing. You tell me if it makes sense. And, he usually hates everything, right? And I sent it to him, and he comes back the next day, goes, I actually love this. I sent it to some people, CTO, like one of the biggest. He goes, everyone that looks at this thing really likes it. I'm like,
wow.
no, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
I was shocked, honestly.
Yeah.
So, of course, I immediately closed my deal with the guys at DIG. I became a big partner there, all right? So, and became a consultant, right? And slowly but surely, so I then brought my friend in. So, one of the things I'm a big believer of is that the right management will take an idea that's and make it great. The wrong manager will take a great idea and fuck it up 100% of the time. And I watched these kids, young as they were, making all the right moves, bringing in all the right consultants. They immediately hired my friend as a consultant. This guy's a brilliant guy with every connection. So they were willing to, and they're using all their own fucking money. All right, so they're betting the farm on this. That's what they believe in it, right? And they allowed me to do my job, and I brought in all these tier one investors, just people in the gaming industry, starting with my friend Yoel, who really was instrumental in bringing in. We have funds like Nexo now.
And he's an amazing. Yoel's an amazing guy.
Right, and in gaming is no one better. He's like, he's the man. Like people in gaming, like he's a legend, right? So they showed me something about themselves, which is they were not scared. And I go through all the time with this stuff, which is a nightmare. People won't let you help them. Like they pay me, and they're like, and they think they have the answers. These kids are the opposite, right?
Correct.
And they allowed us to go in there and bring in Class A management, raised a ton of money because of that. We surround them all the best people, and they've been executing like superstars, right? So, and up to the point where when I had, obviously, I got all my stuff for free in the beginning because I was consulting. When it came time to raise money, I put my own money in at the capital raise.
And that speaks volumes,
Right, you get it? So like when I went to my friends and funds to raise money, I put my own money in. I already had a ton of tokens. Now, part of this, again, is that all of them are locked up. So one of the big things I look for is what's the tokenomics, so to speak? How many tokens are there? What's the potential for dilution?
You're speaking to the show on the channel, too, that I talk about tokenomics all the time. Because in this industry, that's what it's all about. It's health of the project.
Especially if you're in the short term. Yes. And that will also fuck up the long term if the tokenomics are wrong, right?
Yep.
So the tokenomics are not right by accident. Yoel was instrumental in also advising them, and every change he asked them to make, they made without even question. And one of the big things that was done is everyone had to lock up. So they're locked up, I'm locked up. No, there's a long period of time, and I'm always a long-term player, but everyone is locked up that is big positions.
Yeah.
And that creates the opportunity now to really give room for this game to launch at the end of the year, for the users to just explode. And that's really where I think I can bring in the most value to Realms is I want to go on a tour around the world and promoting the game to players. It's right, my fan base. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, you have an amazing outreach.
So I plan on really getting aggressive with Realms, right? On the company side. To me, my tokens, I'll hold them for 3 to 5 years. I'm a 3 to 5 year player, right? But the way it's positioned now, everyone's pretty much locked up. There's nothing out. There's a small, I think the float is it's under $1 million.
And the normal market cap's still under $1 million.
$1 million right now. Yeah. So it was, we launched it a few weeks ago. On DeFi exchange on Uniswap. Now today, it's finally on Huobi, right? And it's going to be on many other major centralized exchanges coming up. And I just think that, for me, listen, I'm never a short-term trader, but I always buy for the long term. And I look at this, I could easily see, forget what the price, we'll talk about where the token's going. The company, I believe, can be really a multi-million user game that really has a full ecosystem behind it. So I look at this as a great long-term investment for me and a great short or long-term investment for other people. Yeah. But always do your own research and make your own decisions.
Of course. And I think you said something very important too, because in crypto gaming too, there's usually a major discrepancy between undiluted and fully diluted market cap. And that goes with what you said with the tokenomics. So whenever there's a long vesting period, not only are investors a little more protected from that dump potential, but they have time to let the studio, let these developers actually push out the quality game and let it materialize, let the user base grow, we're going to be able to see a lot of growth from the actual product in the game before we ever see those big investor tokens vested over, I believe it's 3-4 years that the vesting is. So,
and it's beyond that. You know, also there's other things I believe about this game, the way it's structured, that are just so clever with, like, you know, the land sales and it's the NFT aspect. I really believe is going to drive this ecosystem, and I could see this being a game that's played by not just kids looking to make money, but people just loving the game itself. It's almost like kind of Game of Thrones-ish. It looks like it's like Jamie fucking Lannister, the kid. I call the main character Jamie Lannister, but it's very, very cool. The only thing is I want them to mine for Quaaludes, but they wouldn't do it. They're mining for precious gems, not Quaaludes. But, you know, other than that, they followed my advice.
Gonna have to get a Belfort skin in there where they're mining for the loods.
Exactly.
So let's just say years down the line, where Realms is right now, the users that they can bring on, do you really think that this could be the World of Warcraft of the blockchain? And me seeing gameplay, I think it has a lot of potential. And I'm very critical on games, especially on the blockchain. When you're looking across, they're just not fun games. And Realms has that potential to be amazingly fun. And I've seen the beta gameplay. I'm going to be playing the beta game very soon. So what do you think that the actual scope that this game could reach?
So I'll tell you this. It's hard to say what's going to happen with anything like that in the future. What I do know is that we have the type of management, the professionals, and the money, and the backing, and the network that if it doesn't work out, it's not because we did something wrong. It's just because it was one of those things, whatever. It didn't take, so you can't know for sure. So this is the biggest game in the world. I'd be lying to you guys if I said that. But I would be shocked. I really would be surprised if it didn't have at least a major run.
A shockwave at some point.
Where people will adopt it. And then I hope that it just catches on. I'm going to do everything I can, going on tour, running contests for this stuff. But, you know, who's to say why one game? Because if everyone knew that, then everyone just invent games that sell. But this is everything that you would want going for it. So I think the odds are heavily in our favor. And I think the purpose of investing in the, you know, in the token for shorter term people, I mean, I think a lot of people probably will buy and sell before the game ever even is out there.
Launches,
I'm not one of those people. I'm going to hold this thing for a long time, but I know a lot of people, they can, you know, in, out, because there's so much, you know, excitement, especially when I'm out there on tour next year as the game is going all over the world. There's going to be so many people looking at this. So I always say, just ask yourself a question. What do you think happens when, you know, we're out there promoting it all over, just not the token, just the game around the world? Well, there you go, you know.
The product will speak for itself.
The product speaks for itself.
Exactly. When people see the gameplay, I believe the Twitter is Realms of ETH, right? So if you go there, they have gameplay clips, they have development clips. It really It really does look super sharp.
What's the symbol on Phobia? I'm not even sure I didn't check yet.
It's the same. R-E-T-H. Yeah,
R-E-T-H. Yeah. So I mean, again, and I think also eventually I think there'll be spin-off games out of this thing, and then you'll be able to do sort of your airdrops to the. I think it's a really interesting ecosystem that will develop over the next 3 to 5 years around this.
Agreed. And with games like I'm making the reference a lot, but it reminds me of the World of Warcraft and the RuneScapes. Those games have never fallen off. Yeah. RuneScape is 18 years old. I mean, I was playing that when I was under 10 years old on the computer, and there are still websites actively flipping accounts. So like when you bring NFT into the fold, you're actually able to trade those on a medium where you're not going to get scammed. These third parties, they're flipping World of Warcraft accounts right now.
They have to flip the whole account.
The whole account, correct. And then you're worried on a third party sending you a login info and then you paying me. You know, there's so much that could go wrong there. And blockchain technology eliminates that actual scam in the middle because the blockchain will take care of all of that. So anything that we didn't talk about on Realms that is on your mind? Because I think we covered a lot of it, and I'm really excited to get my hands on the game. Yeah.
I just think for investors, like, again, I just think that, you know, the key to this stuff is to always get involved early. You want to get involved when the market caps are low, like this is right now. And I could just assure you that I'm not selling anytime soon.
And I'll say this.
And if I do sell, you would know first.
I'll say this. Crypto gaming's total market cap, I believe right now, is under 50 billion. I'm pretty sure, like the total, especially with this dip, we're looking at least under 75 billion the other day on diluted market caps. Like we're looking at a very, very large dip in the industry in a sector of crypto gaming that I do think if it adopts the same way that traditional gaming did, and these gamers get around to the fact that they can make money on their time, right? traditional gamer is not a whale investor.
Yeah.
They want to be able to hop into a game, play an economy for 6 hours a day, and potentially be rewarded. In the current state of games, if you're not a top 0.1% esports athlete, you're not making money on these games, right? And you're looking at that potential within the game, but then the token right now, under $1 million market cap, realistically speaking, in a worst market that we've seen in a long time.
By the way, that's a good point. So another thing I would say to people, not just for realms, but the best time to be buying things is in a market like this.
Correct.
I honestly think if the market wasn't where it was, realms would probably be at 50 cents by now already. Or I'm just saying that, just like, I think a lot of things are that way. But I just think that, I always say when you're looking to make a decision to buy or not buy, it's like you want to take a fundamentally sound situation, meaning the actual fundamentals of the company, if you project them out, they lead to much higher prices, which is to say it's undervalued right now. That's number one. The second thing is, technically, is at the top of its trading range or the bottom? What are the market forces doing? So right now, I just think like everything after the UST disaster, Bitcoin even on the way down before that.
And we're under 30 still today. I think it's 29,000 today.
Yeah, everything is just so negative and depressive. To me, that is the best time to be buying if you're going to be buying anything.
Agreed. And that's exactly the last thing I kind of wanted to hit on there, is if there's timing in this and where crypto gaming is, based on where we all think crypto gaming NFTs are going in the future, there might not be a better time to accumulate those positions that you do believe in.
100%.
And that's not even speaking on realms. It's anything in this space that you are a true believer in. It is the time to be buying in this market. And
agreed.
You're a Wall Street guy, so
I'm buying Ethereum like crazy right now.
Oh, dude, I'm stacking as much as I can. Be greedy when there's fear. Be fearful when there's greed. I think that's 100% correct in this situation. And long term, I see this industry going a long way. And if you're playing it smart, playing your chips with these top platforms, and Luna just set an example for the whole industry that you need to make sure that what you're investing in is going to be stable. Do you have an opinion on that?
I do. I mean, here's the thing. So what bothers me about Luna and UST is the branding. So in other words, I invest. Let me give you an example. There's a protocol out there called Titano.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And it's like, I got into it and went all the way up, it's all the way down right now. But I think it's going to go back up. I'm a long holder. But the point is that what you're getting into. It's like speculative. It's a joke. Like you put money in, like cross my fingers, go to the track, play Titano. Right? And it's like a super high interest rate, like 100,000% interest rate. But the protocol works great, right? And people have made a ton of money, but what it is. It's not supposed to be stable.
Correct.
And you're supposed to know that every dollar you put in, you're probably going to lose, or maybe you'll make a fortune, right? The problem with USTs, people acting like it was fucking stable.
They were putting their life savings.
You got it. So because they were putting the type of money that you normally put into mutual funds, Bitcoin, safe investments, right? That's my problem, what happened. So I think I don't know this guy, Do Kwon. He was a cocky bastard.
So cocky.
Hate that shit. It reminded me too much of myself back when I was young, right? But he was very cocky, and hopefully, he seems like he's probably a very smart guy, though. My guess is he'll probably do something else, probably under a different name for. I don't even think. By the way, I heard rumors that he actually was using other pseudonyms for earlier failed
projects,
stablecoin
I saw some
projects,
rumors as well.
Right? Yeah. So again, I don't know what's going on there. I wouldn't say he broke any laws or did anything wrong at all. Other than that, I think it was really, really foolish of him and people around him to promote this as a stablecoin. How the fuck could it be stable when it was pegged? Okay, so you're swapping Luna for Terra based on this, right? This thing. But one of the things is fucking a joke. It's not worth it. What's the value of the ultimate swap was based on nothing.
And then the Bitcoin reserves that they put behind it.
That made it worse.
That's what most people think made it attackable as it was, and compromisable. And we saw what happened. And
they opened themselves up. But again, people make mistakes, whatever. And, I think the intentions were probably good.
Yeah.
But I just think he got so high in his own supply, this kid. And because of that, a lot of people, I know friends of mine, have lost millions and millions of dollars because they thought it was a stable coin.
Same with our community here on Banter. Yeah.
Right? How could something pay 20% interest? It doesn't work this way in the world. You know what Titano's interest rate is? It's 120,000%. You know why? Because at any moment you could lose every fucking penny you have. And you know that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, now 20% isn't 120,000%, but it's not the right number. Maybe you can get 7%, 9%, 6%. You can't get, I mean, listen.
19.5% on your dollar.
Doesn't exist.
No.
It is stable coin. It doesn't exist.
And you come from Wall Street, and a 15% gain over a year time is
fucking. If you listen, I'm writing a book right now, right? One of the theses of the book is basically that if you want to invest in the stock market, the simplest and smartest thing to do is put your money to the S&P and reinvest the dividends. You're going to beat 98% of the hedge funds out there every single year or over 10 years.
Right.
You might lose 1 or 2 years because after all the fees and commissions and this and that and the tax treatment, it's just so much smarter to just buy the collective ingenuity of the U.S. economy and hold it, right?
Yeah.
The equivalent to me in this whole arena is
crypto.
Bitcoin and Ethereum, like the
Correct.
equivalent of the S&P, right?
Yeah.
But then, of course, you want to have fun, and it's impossible to resist the urge to not be at least dabbling in what your friends are doing. So, of course, you're not just going to do that. So you have to learn about the other stuff.
You got the blue chips, you got the penny stocks, the altcoins.
You got to learn that. Have some fun, take some. You get lucky, and if you do research, listen. If you're a professional, you can trade this small stuff and make a lot of fucking money because most people don't take the time to educate themselves. So you have a gap between those who don't know and those who know, right? Which is why your show is awesome because people get on your show, they get to things early, they make money, right? You also tell them all the risks.
Yeah,
and that, again, going back to it, that's, I think, was the fundamental flaw for the whole Luna UST thing is that it was sold as something it's not.
Yeah, I agree completely. And that's bet on product, bet on people, don't bet on promises in this space. And, that was a hard one to see coming for a lot of people. But when you look back on it, 19.5%, too good to be true was definitely the statement there.
Yeah.
Jordan, I really appreciate your time. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. I think we covered everything that we wanted to today, guys. Be sure to follow Jordan on Twitter. Any medias you want to, what's your Twitter? What's your Instagram?
Oh, just everyone, it's Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, one or the other. So
yeah,
everyone knows me.
Perfect. And be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with another video here right on Crypto Banter. Jordan, thank you so much for joining. And look forward to seeing everything out of Realms. I'll definitely give Realms a shot on the show as well. Show off the gameplay, all that stuff. So I'll send that your way. So guys, we're out of here. Till next time, play well, my friends.